Hi everyone, it's Maddie Brady. We're here to get real about mental health. Stay tuned for some great conversations with some very special guests. Hi everyone, it's Maddie Brady back with Get Real. So I have on Evan today. So I actually found Evan on Instagram. A friend of mine had reposted one of his videos talking about New York City real estate, and I just ended up following him, thought his profile was interesting, and then it came to my attention he did a reel about how he stopped drinking 11 months ago at the time when I saw the video. And he was talking about how he didn't necessarily stop because of a problem or anything like that, but he just felt like it was more beneficial to his life to stop. And I thought it was super interesting. It was one of the first people in New York City that I heard publicly talking about not drinking. So I messaged him and got him on.
And here we are. What was that? It was like a long... You're a planner, by the way.
Yeah.
You invited me on. I think it was like December. You're like, can you be here February 28th? I'm like, maybe. I don't know.
Clear your schedule already.
Yeah. I don't know what's happening tomorrow, let alone 3 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool.
Yeah, so I'm definitely curious as to why you stopped drinking.
Yeah.
And then what really motivated you to keep going.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to say this wrong, but the straw that broke the camel's back was, I was out, I think I had just gotten back to New York City from a trip. It was I think it was November 2nd or November 3rd of 2021. And I was drinking and I looked around the table and I'm like, if these drinks were not here, would I be here right now? I don't like any of you.
Yeah.
And I went home that night and I think, my subconscious, I had been thinking about it for a while. And what it really boils down to is I didn't want to look back at my life when I'm older and wonder what if? What would have been different? Let me just try. Let me just try and see how my life is affected. And all my friends were like, dude, you're never drunk, you barely drink, this barely even affects you. But it really did have a large compounding effect. And I would always take a month off every year. And I always found by the end of the month, even my friend circle started to change, and I would see some people less, and I changed my habits a little bit. So at the end of that month, I tried 1 month. I'm like, let me do another month and another month and another. Before I knew it, I'm like, let me go for a year. And now I'm on, November, 15, 16 months of not drinking.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely interesting what you said about how you looked around the table and were like, do I even like these people?
Yeah.
Because I definitely found that when I stopped drinking, my circles changed. I saw who my real friends were and who actually supported it. And I made so many more incredible, real, deep connections after I stopped drinking, because you realize some people you honestly do just hang around with for the party.
Yeah. And it's that's a key thing, is real. You definitely lose a lot of those fringe friends, but the people who remain in your life are so important. They have such an impact. And then you meet, and then people start coming out of the woodwork who also don't drink, and you realize that there's a lot of people like that.
Definitely.
A lot of people that don't drink.
Definitely. Something that shifted for me too was that I noticed people actually look up to it and respect it. And I remember in the beginning being so embarrassed about stopping drinking and not wanting to tell people right away, or having a different story right away. I'm just driving tonight. I'm just not drinking tonight.
Yeah.
And then as the years went on, I noticed I really built up my confidence of just being able to say my truth and talk about it from people respecting it so much and being so incredible about it.
Right. Yeah, just absolutely owning it. No, you're absolutely right. I was the same way. I'm like, I gotta wake up early tomorrow, and then after a month, I'm like, what am I talking about? Who cares? I stopped drinking because I want to have a better life.
Exactly. What do you feel like improved since you stopped drinking?
I mean, every facet of my life got better in some degree, I would say. I would say you start to stack what am I looking for? Consistency. That's the one thing in my life that I'll always have is at least for the future, is I'll be sober, and then you're like, you know what? Let me start going to the gym every day. Let me work my diet. So it's sort of like the pillar, and it starts everything else. Let me have a better relationship with my parents and my family. Let me have a better relationship with my partner. let me go to the gym every day. Let me wake up early, and you just start stacking these consistent things. And it all started with being sober and having that just that one thing that you always stuck to no matter what.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed for me, it was especially being able to speak to people and being able to formulate better connections, better relationships. I just felt like when I took away the alcohol was more of a liquid confidence that allowed me to feel more comfortable and think that I was making these friends and think that I had all these people in my corner.
Yeah.
And then it forced me to actually work on myself, be comfortable with myself and who I was, so that I was able to formulate better relationships and actually care about other people and have them care about my actual life and not just, hey, are you going to the party tonight? Are we getting a drink after work? All of that.
Now, do you feel yourself more confident now that you're sober at these parties, or how has that affected you?
100%. Yeah.
Same.
So the beginning, we briefly chatted about that. In the beginning, I felt so uncomfortable at the bar. So I got sober when I was 21 years old.
Oh, wow. That's young.
So, yeah.
Wow. I had like a good run, I think I got sober at 27. So I'm like, all right. A lot of those 4 a.m., 5 a.m. nights, those are sort of behind me. I probably shouldn't be doing that.
Well, honestly, I had those.
Yeah,
I was all about growing up so quickly. I was always on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And I felt like I already had those days when I was younger. And so I got sober when I was 21. So I remember still wanting to go out. I remember right after I did, there was always something. There was always a wedding. My friend's 21st
Weddings
birthday.
Are tough. So much of it is centered on drinking.
Definitely. And I remember feeling so uncomfortable, so absolutely uncomfortable. And just being annoyed, being irritated, feeling awkward. I was always mainly about how I was feeling. I felt so awkward, and I thought everybody was there thought it was so weird that I was there not drinking. When you think about it, that's actually pretty egotistical, thinking that every single person there is thinking about what you're doing. And
that's what Kobe Bryant always says. He's like, they asked him, they're like, how do you get over, in his rookie year, he airballed 4 shots. And he's like, well, first you have to get over yourself. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. If you think that someone on their deathbed is looking back on this when they're 80 years old, oh, Kobe airballed. Nobody cares about anything. You could have the biggest flop of your life. And people will forget about it so quickly.
They're all focused on themselves. Anyway.
Exactly. That's everyone's most important and most favorite topic is themselves.
Yeah.
So 100%. You might as well just let it rip.
Yeah. So I'm glad that I went out in the beginning as much as I did and made myself get over those uncomfortable days, because now I'm so confident and comfortable. And now I feel like I can be in the most awkward situation on earth and feel the least awkward in the room. I'm like, I've already done all this. Nothing can faze me now.
You got nothing to lose. That's what people always ask me about. It's let's talk about an uncomfortable situation, like a first date. You show up and you don't drink. I mean, what I always do, and people always ask me, how's dating? How do you pull it off? I'm like, it's very simple. You just get there a little early, maybe 10 minutes before, and you just get an alcoholic looking drink. And then they just assume that it's alcoholic. And then maybe down the road, if they're more comfortable, if they don't drink, if they do drink, you can tell them hey, just so you know, I don't drink.
So that's super interesting, because I always feel obligated to say it right away. But I don't like to.
So what is their reaction though when you say that though?
So
are they like, oh, I'm not going to drink, or they're like
very mixed, very, very mixed. And that's actually something that's sometimes a little bit awkward. My worst nightmare, the absolute worst for me, is when they get too stuck on it, where they're like, maybe I shouldn't drink. Are you sure? Someone once just kept saying over and over, multiple, we just went on a couple dates, but multiple times, are you okay with me drinking? Are you sure you're okay with me having a drink?
How many times is multiple? Like how many?
Definitely several times each time. And nothing changed, you can still have a drink.
That's an insecurity,
And it made me feel super awkward and super uncomfortable, because I already said that I don't care at all, and then it makes me think that they're thinking, she must feel so awkward, and it just makes me feel super uncomfortable, because I honestly, at this point, I would communicate if something made me feel uncomfortable, and it absolutely does not make me feel uncomfortable that you're having a drink. So
I had a scenario.
That's awkward.
I had a scenario. This was probably like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. I got there first. I was just meeting with a few of my boys. I think it was like 3 or 4 friends. And I got there first. I got a non-alcoholic drink. I got like a non-alcoholic beer. And I sat down on the table and my friends showed up and they were like, we'll have what he's having. So they all got non-alcoholic beers. They got 3 rounds of non-alcoholic beers. And we were all just,
so
they didn't know.
funny.
They thought it was alcoholic. They thought it was actual
That could have
beer.
been a little experiment. Like, okay,
well, no,
it
was interesting because they were acting a little bit more loose and a little bit more funny. So it was definitely a placebo. And they don't know. They'll probably find out on this podcast.
That's hilarious.
They were all like a little like pushing each other and fucking around and cracking more jokes. I'm like, dude, there's nothing in there.
Oh, that's funny. But it is like something that you feel like it's the only drug that you have to explain yourself for not taking. I always see that, and I relate to it so much because I feel like I need this big explanation. Yeah. And sometimes you just don't want to get into that right away.
Right.
And sometimes I feel weird because I do obviously have a platform where I talk about it so much, and I talk about the fact that I'm sober and sober for a reason. And sometimes I'll just say, you know what, I don't really drink, and I think, oh, I'll get into that later. You know what? They definitely looked me up on Instagram and are like, okay, she doesn't just not drink.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know who knows and who doesn't because it's not like a huge part. It is a part of me, but it's not like front page news. Like I don't drink, so it's like I just let it rock.
Yeah, you know? Yeah. I definitely do on my social media platforms because it's something that I'm focusing on promoting and trying to break the stigma and all of that. But in real life, I really don't talk about it that much.
Sure.
So yeah, it's definitely, I feel like when people look me up, they're like, okay, she does a lot with this.
Yeah. That's funny.
But I don't bring it up really unless, like in a work setting, I don't bring it up unless somebody talks about it.
Right.
If somebody asks me about it, and then that's something else too, I'm super comfortable talking about it, but I think sometimes people feel a little awkward asking because they think it's something that might make me emotional or might make me uncomfortable, when in reality I'm like, this is what I do. I talk about it all the time. But I'm definitely not going to be in your face about it. If you ask, I'll go on forever. If you don't ask, I just don't bring it up.
Yeah. Same.
So do you feel, what's your strategy? So say you go on a date with the girl.
Right.
You pretend you're having a drink. What do you do after that?
Get another fake looking drink, or like the waiter or waitress, like they're so cool with it. They're so happy not to have some like drunk person in the bar. So frequently I like don't even pay for it. But like the 3rd or 4th, they're just serving me the Shirley Temples or whatever mocktail it is. But I don't know. It doesn't come up that much. I'm not much of I don't go to that many bars anymore. I'd rather if I'm going to go on a date, like go for a walk or like do something outside, go for a bike ride, something like that. Definitely.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have leaned away from the bar scene and all of that too?
I don't know. Maybe that's just how the cards have fallen, where I find myself outside more frequently. But if you're not drinking and that's what bars are, there's not really an appeal to be there. But
definitely.
Yeah, I definitely find myself in a bar or two here and there.
Yeah. Because I noticed more in the beginning, I think. I was like, I can still go to the bar, I can still go to the club, I can still do this, that, and another thing. And then I just found myself wanting to be there less.
Yeah.
But I do have the craving for that extreme. I love a high energy social situation. So every now and then I definitely want to go. And I more so like early nights though, where you're going, maybe it's a really good vibe at the bar and you get a mocktail or two and then leave, or just straight dancing. There's no in between for me. I don't want to be in a super crowded bar at 12 o'clock at night on the weekends where you're just really not doing anything, but it's an absolute mob scene and it's a nightmare. That's my nightmare.
That's the thing. I think probably the last thing we'll talk about in terms of sobriety is like, you really have to be there. You really have to want to be there.
Yeah.
If you're drinking, if you drink deep, that guy's the man. That guy's great. If you're sober, you're like, what? I think one of the biggest realizations of, and this is while I was still drinking, is I didn't go to college, but I went to all the parties and I visited all my friends and I would see the guys, junior, senior in college. and people are like, oh, he's the man, he's so cool. And I'm like, dude, hold on to that, because that is not going to translate to the real world well at all. So it's like, that was one of the first clues. I'm like, hey, maybe I shouldn't be doing this as much. But yeah, what other questions do you have for me?
So you just said you really didn't go to college.
Right.
Did you not go at all, or what was that like?
Sure. So I went to high school, and then I went to local community college. I just couldn't afford it. It was a lot of money. So I went to local community college. Did that for a year. Met an elderly couple. When I was waiting tables, I would pass out my business cards. It would say my name, and then like miscellaneous labor. So all different types of weird jobs. I was chopping wood. I'd be, cleaning bathroom floors. I'd be walking dogs. Really any way to get out of this town where I was from. Like from one traffic light, I think there's like 3,000 people in the town. So very, very small. Not a lot of people get out of there. So I just wanted a ticket to New York. So I met this elderly couple. They're from New York City. Started doing small jobs for them while I was in college. All my friends, are freshman year of college. How fun that was. And I'm just at community college, just like trying to be diligent, trying not to spend money. And they're like, I did a bunch of jobs for them. And eventually they're like, hey, why don't you come to New York in January of 2014, watch our townhouse in the Upper West Side, walk our dogs. I'm like, great.
Wow.
That's the foot in the door. Yeah. So I came down here in January of 2014, started walking dogs at the time, got a real estate license. Moved back upstate for the second semester of college. Told my parents, like, hey, I'm going to move to Manhattan. I moved to Manhattan May 18th, 2014. Started selling real estate at the same time. Did one more semester of college. I was in Kerry Ruff's public speaking course. Shout out Kerry Ruff. He's actually a great guy. And it was the first day, and people are like, and at that time, I'm doing pretty well in real estate. And, the professor was like, so what do you want to do? What do you want to do after you get out of college? The first guy was like, I want to start an LLC. And I'm like, that takes like literally 10 minutes. You do not need a college degree to do that. And the whole class was like, whoa, an LLC, that's crazy. At that time I had like 4, because, you should do that when you launch a venture. And then the second person, and this was 2015, so a little bit crazier, inflation wasn't as wild. She's like, I want to make 6 figures. And again, the whole class was like, whoa, it's a big goal. And I'm like, what am I doing here? I gotta get it out of here. It's like the next day I dropped all my courses, failed all my classes, and then I'm like, all right, I'm all in. Let's do real estate. That's
awesome. Yeah. That's great. Yeah. I had a very similar experience where I originally went to Drexel for fashion. At that time, it was not voluntary that I left school. That was really when I was struggling with my mental health.
Sure.
Couldn't do it. Took a step back, went to a couple community colleges. At that point, I was so stuck in this failure mindset where I did great in school my whole life. Really didn't apply myself that much. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But in high school and all of that, I got good grades, all of that. And then as soon as I had the fact that I had to leave Drexel, I just was stuck in this failure mindset. And I felt like I just kept going to these community colleges, not really doing anything or caring.
It's a tough spot to be in.
This is it. Yeah. Like I'm 19 years old. I'm like, my life is over. So I ended up something extremely similar. A family that I nannied for.
Right.
They invited me to come live with them and go back to school because I was about to join a police force.
Oh, wow.
And I had made it to my last level right before going into the academy, basically. And I told them, and the mother pulled me aside and said, I think you can do something different. I don't see that in your future.
Right. Wow.
And she was right.
Wow.
But so I went to go live with them, and I went back to this little school. And I started running cross country for the school. And I just was in class exactly like what you were saying, looking around the room, and people were clapping each other up and really into the experience. And I just felt so mentally beyond that with everything that I had gone through in the past couple of years. And I was in class Googling how to get rich without a college degree. And I realized so many entrepreneurs that I looked up to and so many great people didn't go to school. And shortly after that, I just realized that it was not for me, and I had to.
Yeah, that's the thing about like not going to college. One, you go to college, I mean, to get a job. Like, I don't want that. Why am I here?
Yeah.
And the second thing, being an entrepreneur, it's just like, it's people who didn't want to get a job.
Exactly.
You know? And with that, being an entrepreneur, you eat what you kill. If you're not valuable in the marketplace, you're out of business, you're on the street.
Yeah.
So it forces you to be valuable. You know, there's no other option.
Definitely. I just feel like there's such a societal pressure where I felt like I had to go and I had to get a degree. And then really you look at other people that did go and did get a degree and you're like, what are you really doing?
Mean, really in the last few years though, you know, post-COVID, it really, there has been a large shift of college versus no college. I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, but when I graduated high school in 2013, it was like, if you didn't go to college, like my dad would always say, is like, you know, Evan, if you don't go to college, whenever we were driving and it was like raining out and there was guys digging ditches, he's like, you don't go to college, that's going to be you. I'm like, okay, all right, that sounds scary.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, I graduated 2015 and that was definitely, you were going to college or you just, that was it.
Right.
That was it. That was the only option. But that's definitely why I wanted to bring it up when I noticed you said that, because more and more and more now there's so many successful people that just didn't go.
Right.
And you realize that everyone that did go, really, some of them aren't that happy with what they're doing. And you meet so many people that didn't go that are absolutely killing it and doing something that they're happy with.
At the flip side of the coin, though, like being an entrepreneur is not easy.
No.
Like, let me be real. Like, there's, you know, a lot of time your back is against the wall and it's on you and you're the last line of defense and you don't have that cushion, you know, and it's something I'm just normal with, but I can't even imagine having a job. I don't even know what that would be like. So I guess I don't really have a comparison. But I guess to boil it down, you have to be valuable. Yeah. You know, definitely to survive.
Definitely. What do you feel like you do for your mental health to help you be able to maintain being an entrepreneur and be able to sit with that stress and just kind of ride out that anxiety?
I don't know if this is the right answer, but just go to the gym. Just, you know, I run every single day. I work out every single day. There's never been a time where I go to the gym and I feel worse after I leave. You know, just get a good sweat in. And then you asked me off air, you know, I know I don't drink, but do I smoke? I don't even smoke anymore. So that's really like a thing that's really helped me. Just trying to get into the absolute best shape of my life. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I see a lot of people now talking about smoking and why they stopped smoking and all of that. What was your experience with that?
Yeah, so I grew up like a casual smoker. I never really bought it, but if someone had it, I'd definitely smoke it. I would say, you know, in my youth, maybe, you know, every weekend. And then as I get a little older, maybe once a month. You know, how I use it in the last few years is if I'm really in a rut, if I go to the gym and that doesn't get me out of the rut and I just, you know, I'm struggling to find momentum, I'm like, all right, let me just smoke. That maybe once a month, once every other month. But the last time I smoked, I had like a pretty serious panic attack. And I like woke up the next morning and just threw it all away. And I'm like, I'll at least for the very foreseeable future, I'll never touch that again. Because it was a feeling of, I don't know what it was exactly, but like I smoked right before I went to bed and I woke up and I don't know if it was a dream. I don't know what was happening, but like I was losing a little bit. Yeah. So go ahead.
I can definitely relate to that because people ask me, I think it's called California sober when you just smoke weed and that's it. But I never really did get into it because I had the craziest panic attack of my life when I first did it. And I never got into the psychedelics or anything like that. It was just, I was always trying to feel up. And that just enhanced my anxiety for sure. Every time. And people that were really into it would always say, you have to switch the setting, you have to do this, you have to do that. Yeah. Like, that's a lot of work. Obviously, it just doesn't agree with some people. Why is there this push to perfect doing this thing that obviously doesn't really add that much value anyway? Yeah. It's sort of an artificial, you know, it's artificial. It's like you want to work for your enjoyment. You know, you want to, there needs to be sort of trial and tribulation for you to get that dopamine rush. If you can just get it anytime you want, I don't really know, you know, how much you'll appreciate it. Yeah, that's really interesting too, because I feel like that's one thing that using no drugs, doing, obviously not drinking, pushes you to do is feel all of your feelings.
Feel everything, man. Yeah.
So you really have to work for any feeling you're getting, any rush, but I think it's a lot more satisfying where instead of just picking up a drink or picking up whatever, you actually have to do something to get the reward. So that's definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, facts.
How do you feel since really getting off all of this being in New York? Do you feel like it's harder in the city? Do you feel like there's a lot of options in the city?
I mean, that's what I would say about New York City is there's no social obligation. You know, I don't know where you grew up. I grew up in a very small town where everyone knew your business. Everyone knew exactly what you were doing. So coming here, you can be exactly who you want to be. And if you want to do something extremely niche or extremely weird, guess what? There's 100 other people doing it, and and you can band together with them. Yeah,
that's definitely why I came here. I grew up super small town too.
Right.
Everyone in each other's business. Everyone knew when you sneezed from 5 miles down, the whole island, 7 miles long. And honestly, I don't really go home that often, and I get extreme anxiety every single time I go home.
Well, they treat you like the person you were at that time, and like what I've noticed is like, you know, I go to the local bar or whatever the day before Thanksgiving, and it's not
That's
only
my nightmare.
For one night, it's not bad. For one night, it's not bad. Not only are the same people at the bar, they're in the same seats. I'm like, yo, this is crazy. This is wild.
Absolutely. No, I do like going home and catching up with people here and there, but the day before Thanksgiving, I just feel like really highlights exactly what you're talking about. It just really puts it on full blast where you see exactly what you saw 10 years ago.
There's still like, you know.
But that's definitely why I came to New York, is I just feel like you can be anyone you want to be here. You can do whatever, and people really aren't questioning you. You're doing whatever.
That's the beauty of it. And like, there's such obviously there's so many talented people here. You're able to connect with people like this. It's on a city grid. There's also just such a rich infrastructure that people don't realize. Like, this is truly the only place you can show up with nothing and make it. Like, go to California, you go to Miami, you do have to get a car. You do kind of have to like spend a little, you know, more on other things to survive. But you can really like move here, get a shared bedroom in Bushwick for $800 a month, and just figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah, I walk everywhere here, and that's something that actually helps my mental health. I feel like after work, I walk home every day, and everyone's like, that's so far, you walk home every single day. That's my time where I'm just releasing the day and actually enjoying myself.
In terms of like stacking other like good traits, one thing that I tell people, and they're really surprised. They're like, well, I don't know if you should be doing that. So obviously I don't drink. You know, now I've been waking up like every morning. I journal every time I wake up. This year I've been averaging like 5:45, which I'm really happy about. Usually it was like 9:30. But I actually stopped listening to music and replaced that with like podcasts and just other information sources. And I found that has helped just dramatically. For me personally, a person who has a lot of soft skills has made a lot of my career based on relationships, but inserting those hard skills instead of, you know, like, how many times can you listen to, you know, a Kanye West song? It's like, what really kicked it off is, you know, the anti-Semitic shit he was saying. And like, I really looked up to the guy. And after that, I'm like, man, I can't even like listen to him anymore. And then I'm like, you know what, let me just give up music altogether and just switch it with like podcasts and other like information type things. And it's helped dramatically.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of people, I feel like, in the music scene in Hollywood, they all are doing their own, like, they promote so much of other things that sometimes it is so hard to separate it. It's like, how do I even listen to your music or watch your movies when you're going out on a global stage and saying X, Y, and Z? And you don't believe what they're saying so much. It's like, how do you continue to promote their art and still listen to that? But I definitely more so my thing at nighttime, I don't really watch TV at all.
Or I don't even have a TV. This
apartment's one of the first ones that I do have a TV. It was turned on for Mother of Dragons.
Yeah, does it work? It doesn't even look like it's plugged in.
It doesn't look, it's not in a good place. If you could see it right now, it's like propped up because I really don't watch any TV. What I do, I go through the reels of
I would definitely watch
podcasts.
clips. I definitely watch clips.
I watch so many podcast clips.
Yeah.
It's I think I have every single one memorized. So that's really my that's how I relax at nighttime. Even though you're really not supposed to be on your phone to relax, but that's my one guilty pleasure.
Sure.
And then I definitely, most of the time when I'm running or working out, I listen to music, but sometimes specifically on runs, I don't do anything. And I like that internal conversation that you have with yourself.
It's important.
And you can really plan your week, plan your goals. I think a lot, self-reflect. So I definitely can relate to shutting off the music every now and then.
Facts.
Okay, so obviously we've been talking a lot about being an entrepreneur. So where are you now? What exactly are you doing?
Yeah, so what we do, I created a platform a few years ago that sources off-market deals. So we get deals 30 to 40% below market value through tax foreclosures, liens. If someone gets a water shutoff list, if someone is late on their taxes, we have people driving around certain areas. If it snows and someone doesn't shovel themselves out, we have certain indicators where we know if someone's not occupying their home or they're in a situation of distress. So we look for these in second home markets. We primarily focus on the Hudson Valley and the Catskills. So we'll get these properties, 30 to 40% below market value. We'll renovate them and very frequently convert them into a short-term rental. We then rent them, renovate them, rent them for 12 to 18 months. Then we have a reliable T12 or trailing 12 of the revenue. Then we'll sell that product to someone who wants to buy a second home, wants an Airbnb, and wants something turnkey. So they frequently buy the furniture with the asset and they pay a premium on that. Not only getting a second home, they're also getting a investment property.
Oh, that's great.
That's
really cool.
So we make a lot of money on the initial purchase of it because we get it so cheaply, and then we make a lot of money on the exit because we've positioned it in a way where it's a cash flow producing asset.
Wow, that sounds really fun, and actually being able to enhance the home and do all of those steps. That's awesome.
Like make it nicer. And it's like the area we operate in, there's not a lot of institutional money, meaning there's not a lot of. There's no one. The Goldman Sachs or BlackRock or Blackstone isn't doing this. Isn't in these markets doing this because it's too small. So our competition is like mom and pop. So we, have best in class marketing. We know what this typical demographic wants to see in these homes. We know how to furnish them. We know, just certain indicators of how to get the most value possible.
That's great. That's awesome that you're doing that.
Yeah.
So what's next for you? What's the dream going into?
What's the dream? I've always said, don't, have a goal, but don't be specific because it's always going to be changing. Something we've realized in the last, year is that the consumer, debt ceiling is higher than ever. People have more personal credit card debt than ever. And at the same time, essentially people's savings in the United States as a total has gone from roughly 20 trillion to 10 trillion. That means across the board, everyone's savings in the United States has gone from 20,000 to 10,000. So what we're doing now is we're helping, entrepreneurs and people in general, if you have a small business or a business in general, helping them get access to capital. What a lot of people don't realize is there's programs and there's banks that will lend you $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 at 0% interest.
Wow.
Now,
I didn't know.
And the silver, not the silver lining, what's the catch? Why is a bank going to give you $200,000? Well, there's an introductory period for the first 9 months, 12 months, 18 months. They'll give you $100,000. After 18 months, it shoots super high. It goes to 26% interest. So you just pay it back before that time is over. And it could solve any liquidity issues. And you can do a lot with $100,000 in 24 months, whether it's hiring staff for your business or adding additional marketing. And people need money now more than ever. So I thought it was a very easy parallel. For example, when we buy a property, we there's something called a bridge loan where you it's short-term debt. You have for 2 to 3 years to buy the property and reposition it. That debt is at 9%. So if I can get some of the debt at 9% just to purchase the home, but the rest is at 0 interest debt from a bank, my blended average on the interest I'm paying is way lower.
Wow. That really is the dream, combining helping people and obviously helping yourself and pushing your career further as
Yeah,
well.
just like educating people. Like that's something I struggled with. Like for a very long time, my credit score, it wasn't bad. It was like a 700. I had a collection, and I was so self-conscious about that. I had a collection. I was so self-conscious about my credit score. It wasn't even about drinking. I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell people about my credit score.
Yeah.
I had a 700 credit score because I had a collection on my account for car insurance that I did not pay. When I got a new address, I had all the bills sent there. I missed the bill, got a collection. I couldn't borrow a single dime from someone to buy a pencil from any bank.
Wow.
Fortunately, the way the United States is run is anything that's on your credit report, you can have removed. Any inquiry, you can have it removed. Any collection, any derogatory mark, you can have it removed. And that's the first step of helping people, is first cleaning up the personal side of your credit so you can go into these banks and get these fantastic financing options.
Wow, that's awesome. Do you feel like, so being in the line of entrepreneurship, do you feel like you're ever going to be satisfied? Because that's something I think about a lot. Do you feel like you're happy throughout the process, or are you waiting for this finish line?
I'm definitely not happy a lot of times throughout the process. Like, I'm not like running around on a 10 all day. Like, this is great. Oh my gosh. Oh my God. There's so many days I do not want to do it at all. Like, but you just have to keep pushing forward. It's like, you could tell a very good test if you could tell if someone's gonna be a good entrepreneur like very early on. It's just delayed gratification. You put out two options. You can have one marshmallow now, or you can have 2 marshmallows in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And the people who take the 2 marshmallows in 30 minutes, that's delayed gratification. It's like you just have to keep telling yourself and just keep pushing that it's all gonna be worth it.
Yeah.
You know, you've come this far, you can't turn around. You have to keep going, keep pushing.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you back against a wall. I'm not gonna go get a job. I've never had a resume.
Wow. That's impressive. I feel like sports, like how you said you run every day, I feel like people that do endurance activities, it just can translate to the real world. If you're gonna sit there and do a 30-minute run, hour row, whatever it is, you're training your mind for the real world. It's not just I'm doing this quick sprint and then you feel great.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a marathon, and it's day in, day out. But to answer your original question, will I ever be satisfied?
Hard hitting.
I think I will. I think I will reach a time where I'm gonna, you know, sail into the sunset and just chill out a little bit. You know, I truly, I have no aspiration to own the Empire State Building. I really don't. I've never done it for the flashy cars or anything like that. I just did it for security. You know, I just want to be secure in my life. If that's one less thing I have to worry about financially, that's fantastic. Yeah. That's
great.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, thank you so much for coming on here and getting real with us.
This has been real. This is, you're really living up to the hype.
We get real here. So thank you for obviously educating the audience on things that I didn't know about as well. And coming on here and getting so vulnerable.
100%. Any closing remarks? Do I need to tie up any loose ends?
No, I think you're good.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool.
All right, well, thank you everyone for watching another episode of Get Real. Where can everybody find you?
You can find me on all socials at Bowery, B-O-I, Bowery Boy, like Soldier Boy, B-O-I. My name is Evan Rugen, and I just got real.
Thanks for tuning in and getting real with us. Podcasts will be posted every other Wednesday on Spotify and YouTube. Please reach out via DM if you want to chat.